What is going on, you goofballs? It is me, Adine Rao, aka Gensel59. Obviously, if you guys are people that were subscribed to me before when I used to do gaming back when I was like a little squeaker, you're probably wondering why in the world can I see your face and why in the world are you wearing a hoodie and why in the world are you not playing NHL? And the reason for that is I am revamping this channel, as you can see by the logo and the banner and all that. I'm going to be changing this channel to a Dallas Stars content channel where I'm going to be doing all kinds of news and, advanced stats, overlooks, and whatnot of the Dallas Stars. And that's because you might think, oh, well, Dean, aren't you a Penguins fan? Gens 59, duh. And I'm like, well, obviously I am a Penguins fan, diehard, been one since I was a kid, but I also have been following the Stars since in 2012 when I moved here to Houston. And I can't really get a hockey writing job as a Penguins writer here in Texas, so I want to make sure that I follow the Stars, and I think this is a great way to do it, and I have a lot of stuff on my mind that I want to talk about in this video. And as you can see by the title of this video is why the Dallas Stars need to get Adam Larsson in free agency. We'll look at that later. As you can see, I just turned on my face cam. What's up, guys? I'm over here in the top right corner if you want to see me. If you don't and want to look at the data that I got, I have no problem with that because it took me a hell of a lot of time to, compile all of it. If you hear any noises in the background, that's definitely my little brother. Yes, former fans of the Gens 59 channel, if you guys know who he was, he's still there, still as usual, loud as he is. A lot louder now, actually. But today, we are going to be using a lot of advanced stats. All of them are provided by Evolving Hockey, except for the defensive pairings, which are provided by MoneyPuck.com. And the main stat that I like to use in my analysis is goals above replacement and shot charts, 5-on-5 shot charts. Now, obviously, you know what 5-on-5 shot charts are, but goals above replacement is divided into 6 categories. It is divided into even strength offense, even strength defense, power play offense, penalty kill defense, total offense, and total defense, which takes into account, obviously, power play and whatnot. Now, players' goals above replacement, that number is how high or low they are in goals compared to the replacement level of their position. Replacement level is defined as the 25th percentile of the NHL, right? So how high or low are they compared to the 25th percentile of the NHL, right? And for example, like a great example of this category would be Joe Pavelski. Joe Pavelski has a 4.8 even strength defensive goals per replacement. So what that means is he allows 4.8 less goals on average while on the ice than the 25th percentile of the NHL. Not on average, total in this course of the season. And just a little spoiler, that's insanely good. That makes him the #1 forward in the entire NHL in that category. He's one of the best defensive forwards in the NHL. Now, a little bit of a, input on how to look at these stats. When you're looking at forwards, you want to use the raw goals above replacement stat. But when you're looking at, because, all forwards should have, it's a stat heavily impacted by shooting percentage, and forwards should have good shooting percentage because they take high percentage shots. But you're looking at defensemen, you want to use expected goals above replacement for just the offensive aspect, not defensive, because the stat is heavily impacted by shooting percentage, and defensemen take very low percentage shots, but if they have a high expected goals for, they are generating a lot of chances, which is what you want. Like a great example from the Stars would be Jamie Alexiak. He has a 4.4 expected offensive goals per replacement, which is really high, but he has a negative 3.7 actual offensive goals per replacement, which basically means that Jamie is very active in the offensive zone, but he just doesn't put pucks in the net. And you'll see that by his shot charts, the guy lives in the slot, which we'll talk about later. So now let's look at, Adam Larsson. But first things first, you got to look at who we're trying to maximize by getting Adam Larsson, which is Miro Heiskanen. So the first thing is, let's look at Miro Heiskanen in 2018-19. This is his rookie season. You can see his shot chart. This guy is very active 5-on-5, 233 5-on-5 shots, 11 goals, 8.7 expected goals, so he's getting more goals than expected, but look at all these goals where they're coming from. They're coming from the slot. He's all the way up there in front of the net for defenseman. He's great, and that's the kind of player he is. You saw that he's doing this despite the fact that for 64 games of the season, 536 minutes, he was on the same pairing as Roman Polak. And For the other 344, where his offensive talent was really exacerbated, as you can see, the expected goals percentage of the pairings are significantly different, is when he's with John Klingberg. 63% of the expected goals while they're on ice, they control it, which is just absolutely insane. That's a very high number for that. That was the highest of any pairing that season, actually. Now, if you look at why this happened, why Heiskanen's chart can look like that, it's because of this. John Klingberg, look at where he's getting his chances. He's taking them all from the right side of the ice. He's staying to his side. But more importantly, he's not jumping in the slot nearly as much as Mr. Heiskanen. Now, look at the next season. He's taken off of Klingberg's pair despite all that success for some reason, and despite the team going really far in the playoffs and looking very good in those playoffs. Just the lucky goal from Pat Maroon away from, potentially, I think that team could have made a cup. Away, right? And they get rid of that pair, though. And in 2019-20, you see him on 4 different pairs, mainly the Oleksiak pair, but also a lot of minutes with Andrei Sekera, Esa Lindell, and Steven Johns. Also, speaking of Steven Johns, congrats on him on his retirement. Super sad to see the way he had to leave, but, great to see that he's bettering his mental health. As you can see, this season he had 215 total shots, not as much. Same amount of expected goals, but less goals than expected. Not as active in the slot as he was last season. He was more active around all over the ice because they were switching him left and right side, which is really bad for the growth of a defenseman. You shouldn't be switching his handedness throughout the season like that because there wasn't any problems with Heiskanen. And you see Heiskanen and Sekera, good pair, but not good defensively. And none of the pairs really compared to how good Klingberg and Heiskanen were the year before. Heiskanen and Oleksiak got close, but that was just because Oleksiak wasn't playing the way he was this year, which was a lot different. Now, let's look at 2020-21. This year was a bust year for him. 131 shots total, 4.6 expected goals, 4 goals, and yeah, there were less games played, 56, but still, even if you put this to a higher number, that is not what a Miro Heiskanen shot chart should look like. Negative 4.1 even strength offensive goals above replacement, 1.1 even strength defensive goals above replacement. Significant drops in the offensive category, dropped by 7 there, one of the worst in the league this season in that category, and even he dropped on the defensive goals above replacement when it's weird because you think Oleksiak's supposed to help him defensively. And look at that. You see 53.9% expected goals. That's 10% less than the Klingberg pairing. You just see that pairing is not getting it done for them. And whether that's the fault of Oleksiak or the line that Heiskanen is playing on the ice with, I would say it's more the fault of Oleksiak for this chart alone. Right here, you see that Oleksiak is very, very active in the slot for a guy that's supposed to be touted as a defensive defenseman. Look at that. And he does it because he gets away with it because Heiskanen is a young kid and he's pressured to stay back because if he's not back on defense, he looks bad, right? So basically, you're scaring Heiskanen into just completely abandoning the amazing offensive potential he has and basically turning him from this into this, which just is not it, right? And you're probably wondering, well, Dean, how in the world is Adam Larsson going to fix this? And the reason why Adam Larsson is going to fix this is because there's nearly not as many diamonds around the slot on Adam Larsson on Adam Larsson's chart. Now, first thing we're going to look at is why is Adam Larsson a good player in the sense that a lot of people have a bad name around him, but look at his transformation of the way he's played in his career. I mean, the guy came into Edmonton first year, 8.7 even strength offensive juggernaut in his first year, actually. 0.8 even strength defense. He spent the most time on the power play in his career, actually. 124 minutes shorthanded. But the thing was that the Oilers didn't need that from him. They needed a guy who could play good defense, right? They didn't even make... They made the playoffs with this kind of Larsson, but they didn't obviously make it the ultimate way. And they brought in a lot more offensive defensemen after that. They brought in guys later on like Barry. They got the rising of guys like Darnell Nurse, Ethan Bear, right? So you see there's a transition. Next year he's 0.6, 0.8. Same 0.8, but 0.6, way lower. Then he's negative 8.9 on even strength offense, but he's higher in defense. So he's trying to, feel it out, his defensive style. He wasn't that good at it in 2019. Then negative 1.6 and 2 in 2019-20. Oilers make the playoffs. This year was his year, though. 7.1 even strength defense, which was the third highest in the NHL, and his defensive partner was Chris Russell. So if he's putting up top 3 defensive numbers in the NHL with Chris Russell as his pair, and I'm sure those offensive numbers, the negative 2.5, can easily be fixed by playing with Heiskanen. And you see, not only is it numbers-wise, you look at the visuals. This is him in 2016-17 with that amazing 8.7 season. You see, he's all over the place. He's all over the slot. Sorry for that. He's all over the slot. You see him just shooting in the slot, and he's all over here, and he's all over there on the left. Behind the net, he's got a goal. I mean, he's very active. And now look at this season, 2021. Much more secluded. Not all over here, not all over here, especially not all over here. You see a lot less presence around the face-off dot area. He's very sticking to his point position, and that's why he's able to put up such a great defensive season. And even then, he's got 2.4 expected goals, but 4 goals. So he's scoring more goals than he's expected to with the kind of chances he's shooting. Look at that. He's got 3 goals from the point. So he's clearly got 3 yellow diamonds here that are pretty small. I mean, they're low percentage chance, which means he's a pretty dang solid shooter from that point, which is what you want. You don't want, like, Alexiak got no goals from the point this year, basically. Now, look at how he fits in with the scheme as well. He had 128 shorthanded minutes last season, 1 power play minute. So he doesn't conflict with the whole having Lindell, Klingberg, Miro as the 3 defensemen on and you spread them out on the first and second power play units. So he will still be a penalty kill defenseman, which will be great because he's a great penalty killer. He's always been a positive penalty killer in his career, and that will help out a lot because our penalty kill obviously did not do that well. And now all of that thing, you're probably thinking, wow, he's pretty good fit. I like that, and Larsson's lack of pinching will really, maximize Heiskanen's offensive potential, right? And it will make him worth the kind of money he's going to be getting next year, which is what we're going to talk about next. Does it work? Does this work with the money? Does it work with the cap? So obviously this offseason, right now, the Dallas Stars have $15.2 million in cap space before the expansion draft. And they have to sign Heiskanen, who's an RFA. They have to sign Dickinson, who's an RFA. They have to sign Kiviranta, who's an RFA. They have to sign Alexiak, who's a UFA. And Mark Pysyk and Sami Vatanen. And Andrew Cogliano. I think they can get rid of Pysyk, Vatanen, and Cogliano very easily because they have some great rookies like Riley Damiani, Ty Dellandrea that can fill in for Cogliano. They have guys like Thomas Harley that can fill in for Mark Pysyk, Taylor Fadoon, Joel Hanley. And they should sign Heiskanen, Dickinson, Kiviranta, Alexiak. A little bit lower on Dickinson. He's pretty terrible offensively. Guy cannot hit a shot in the slot, and his shot chart is terrible. But he's a very good defensive player. He's top 5 in the league in the defensive category. With the Evolving Hockey contract projection tool, which leaves out some aspects that we'll take a look at later, Heiskanen is projected to sign for 8 times $8.5 million. Dickinson is projected to be 1.5 mil times 3. Alexiak is projected to be 3.3 mil times 5, and Kivi is 0.9 mil times 1. And you take all that together, it's $4.3 million in cap space left to sign a guy like Larsson, right? Now, I think you can take away a lot of money though from those totals because of the lack of state tax, right? In the state of Texas. You see that players will take a discount to have less taxes because, getting paid 4.1 mil in Texas is way more than getting paid 4.1 mil in like Toronto, That's why Marner's making like double the amount of money as Braden Point, for example. Florida doesn't have a state tax either. So with that being said, there's like $4.3 million in cap space, maybe 4.8, give or take. Larsson's projected by that tool to sign for 4.1 mil times 5. And I think he'll sign for that. You would sign for that with us, maybe put a clause in there to give him some security that he hasn't had in his career. And he would want to sign with us because if he signs with us, our roster's stacked. We're win now mode. We're definitely going to make the playoffs. If we don't, I'd be shocked. It would all be injury-based, for sure. Since his 2012 Stanley Cup final appearance in his rookie season with New Jersey, Larsson has never really made a big playoff run since then. He had the 2017 run with the Oilers to the second round, but other than that, the guy's got swept. He's got eliminated by the Blackhawks in the qualifiers. So he'd want to come here and get a shot at some winning hockey for the latter part of his career. I mean, why would he stay in Edmonton? Like, Edmonton just doesn't look good right now. They're trading for the worst defenseman defensively in the NHL right now, Duncan Keith, it looks like. 40 years old or something like that. But if you were to sign Larsson with that projected cap hit, he'd be around, we'd have a final cap space of about 0.2 and 0.8 million, and we'll see why that's important later. Now, is spending money on the defensive unit, which obviously you see we're signing Alexiak, Heiskanen, and Larsson. Those are 3 of the 4 signings we've been making in this offseason with my model. Is it? Absolutely. Look at this Stanley Cup semifinalists. All of them have one thing in common. They spend a hell of a lot of money compared to the rest of the NHL on defense. Montreal spends $27.7 million on defense. Tampa Bay spends $25.7 million, and that's with the state tax deal. Montreal has like Canada tax, and Tampa Bay has 25.7, and that includes Savard being retained 50% twice in a 3-way deal. Vegas spends $22 million, and you saw how great their defensemen were in these playoffs against Colorado and Montreal, especially. The New York Islanders, $17.5 million, and that's the lowest out of any semifinal team, and they have the best defense in the league. And the reason why it's so low is because 4 of their defensive unit is like underpaid. Pelech was $1.6 million in his final year of his deal for these playoffs. He's going to get way more than that. Dobson's on his rookie deal right now. Pulock is getting paid $5 million, which he'll get a way bigger extension next year. And Mayfield's getting paid $1.5 million, which he's probably going to get like 3.3 around Lexiak numbers because that's the way he plays. So realistically speaking, I think all these teams' decors are worth around $25 million, and ours is worth $17.1 million. So, not a good look. So I think that a great idea for the Dallas Stars, if you do all my moves right, you would be spending $28.2 million on your defense, which that is how to win the cup now. Is winning the cup. The Tampa Bay Lightning have shown that winning the cup is all about having an anchor of a defense so that you can have as many skill guys up front in the forwards, and let those skill guys shine, right? And what is a move like this, what does it do for the Stars' future, right? And this is 100% a win now move. Make no mistake. This puts Nil in a position with the 0.8 million cap to make, trade his, the first round picks for cheap skill depth that's retained at the deadline. Sort of like how Vegas did with Matthias Janmark. Great example. Savard, not as much. He didn't do amazing, but Janmark was a big one. He had a hat trick in a Game 7 for Vegas. He was a very impactful player in their run, and he was only getting paid $562,500 by Vegas on the cap hit. So very, very, very good trade there, and we could make that. You can get anybody for any kind of money with these 3-way, 4-way trades that you can make. Now, what this does is it creates a 2-year window with a very, very strong year 1. You've got Pavelski, Robertson, Gurianov, Klingberg, Ottinger, Radulov. They're all on their final year of their contracts, especially Robertson, Klingberg, Ottinger are all very cheap as well. They're on rookie deals, basically. Klinger's on like a $4.25 million and a defenseman of his caliber is going to get way more after that. So that's really cheap, and you have to take advantage of that. And this year 2, you got Hintz on $3.1 million, and you can get rid of Bishop's $4.4 contract if Ottinger shows that he can be a starting goaltender. You don't want to rush Ottinger because that's what the Penguins did with Matt Murray and Tristan Jarry. They rushed them into being the starting goalies, and then they have goalie controversy and goalie issues in the playoffs. But if Otter shows that he can be a playoff goaltender, a goaltender that can handle the pressure, then definitely get rid of Bishop to have as much cap space as possible to sign a lot of guys, right? Like the guys that are in the final year there. Now, with all that being said, that's where we're going to end off the video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching my first video on this channel. My Twitter is @StarsRao. Please make sure to go follow. I tweet about all my random advanced stats thoughts all the time. My Reddit is u/StarsRao. I'm going to start being a lot more active on Reddit now. The Discord that I frequently reside in is in the comment section, the description and the comment section. I'll make it a pinned comment. It's an NHL, it's called the National Hockey League fan server. There's guys like Urinating Tree in there, Gravite. The link is in the description. Make sure to join it up because that's where I talk all the time to a bunch of really cool hockey fans in there. But there's a little bit of toxicity. If you can handle it and take everything with a grain of salt, then it's a really fun place to be. But if not, if you can't handle the toxicity, join it up. Don't talk in there and just message me personally, and we can always talk about hockey and whatnot. But please do, guys, give me feedback on Twitter and Discord and on the YouTube comment section below about my first video. Let me know what you guys thought. And without further ado, guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and peace.